50 years ago today, Radio Caroline took to the air, the first of the offshore pirate stations, and to mark the anniversary, for 1 month it'll broadcast from a boat once more. But what impact did the pirate stations have? We'll find out a little later.
Still to come on Breakfast this morning, we celebrate the 50th anniversary of a broadcast that changed British radio.
England's first commercial radio station. My name's Simon D. with you.
Yes, based at sea, of course. Radio Caroline was the first UK station to play pop music and made its DJs household names. We'll be looking back at its glory years. Time now, 6:50. It was the pirate radio station that changed the face of British broadcasting. With the words, "This is Radio Caroline" on 199 came the UK's first commercial station. Pop music on the airwaves for the very first time.
Today is its 50th anniversary. Breakfast's Tim Moffat is on board a ship in Liverpool which is reliving the station's heyday as part of the celebrations. Tim, I can just about see you. There you are.
Yes, good morning to you from the decks of the Mersey Planet lightship in Liverpool, where plans are fully underway to mark the 50th anniversary of the launch of Radio Caroline, the first of the offshore pirate stations. Now, by broadcasting from a boat, Caroline was able, back in the 60s, to get around the ban that then existed on commercial radio stations. Only the BBC was allowed to broadcast. It completely shook up the industry. It built up a huge, devoted fan base. It was a real revolution in radio.
This is Radio Caroline on 199, England's first commercial radio station. My name's Simon D. with you for the next 2 hours. First one off the top of the pile, the Hollies, Rockin' Robin.
Without it, the swinging 60s might never have swung. When Radio Caroline took to the air in 1964, no British radio station played pop music. There was only Radio Luxembourg, which broadcast pop from mainland Europe at night. Tony Prince and fellow DJs shot to fame.
It was just a really exciting time to be a part of pop culture. We were enjoying playing music to people who'd never had music played to them during the day. The BBC ignored pop music. No, you didn't really appreciate it until you came ashore and all the fans were there. Then you knew what it was like to be a Beatle.
There's just a 10-kilowatt transmitter pumping the music out, but millions of kids have learnt to say, "I love Caroline" on 199, and they lap it up from 6 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night.
There were two Radio Carolines. Caroline South was moored just off the Essex coast, which meant its DJs could be heard right across southern England. Caroline North was anchored close to the Isle of Man, and that meant that pop fans across the north of England and in Liverpool could finally hear a radio station broadcast the music, which was transforming the city. Diane Kane has sold records from this shop in Liverpool since 1951, and when Radio Caroline went on air, things changed.
It had a tremendous influence on local people. I used to listen during the day in the shop, but it was being asked for the recordings they played, which were different to the BBC, who were a little bit safe. I just thought, this is a good thing.
But in 1967, the Marine Offences Act made broadcasting from sea much harder. Caroline has managed to stay on air for much of the past half-century. Today it's available legitimately online. And for 1 month, Caroline North will broadcast from the water once more, from the Mersey Planet lightship, moored in Liverpool.
It's an era of broadcasting that will never come back again. You are living and breathing radio. You're with 10, 12 other people, and there's a certain bond between the DJ and the listener that you don't get from land-based radio stations.
As a young Tony Blackburn would discover, Caroline transformed the radio industry. The BBC launched Radio 1 in response. Other commercial stations followed, and the broadcasting establishment accepted that new music should be embraced, not ignored. So preparations are underway here on the Mersey Planet lightship for Monday, which is when, John, you go on air for 1 month on FM, right, isn't it?
From 7 o'clock in the morning on FM and online at carolinenorth.com.
So do you hark back to the days of pirate radio with a you know, with sadness in your heart that it's just not like how it used to be?
It's not quite the same. No, 50 years ago, the MV Caroline set sail to become Britain's first and the world's most famous offshore radio station. And in 50 years, radio has not come the way that a lot of people envisaged. So we're hoping to recreate the sound for just 1 month.
Now, you used to broadcast from a boat, didn't you? What was it like being on board with the other DJs? I mean, it was this kind of crazy madcap world which we saw in that film, The Boat That Rocked, or what was it really like?
No, the actual real life was nothing like The Boat That Rocked. We just got on with being DJs and working on a radio station and peeling potatoes and doing a bit of cleaning. So we just lived the life and breathed radio 24 hours a day.
Okay, well, best of luck with your month-long Caroline North broadcast from here. There are other events going on to mark the anniversary just off the coast of Walton on the Naze in Essex. They are marking the anniversary there for Caroline South. As I said in the report, there were 2 Radio Carolines, and there's also a campaign to get the Ross Revenge, which is one of the original boats from which Caroline broadcast from, back onto the water again. But for now, from the decks of the Mersey Planet lightship, it's back to the studio.
Tim, thank you. I think we all need a little bit more music in our lives, don't we?
50 years ago today, Radio Caroline took to the air, the first of the offshore pirate stations, and for 1 month it'll be broadcasting from a boat once more. But what impact did those pirate stations have? We'll find out a little later. And the broadcasting establishment accepted that new music should be embraced, not ignored. Well, we saw him in the report there. Tony Prince, former Caroline DJ, is with me this morning. Tony, what's it like to be back on board a ship which is about to start broadcasting?
I feel homesick. But as we're in Liverpool, we've got to sing, it was 50 years ago today, Ronan brought the ship out to play.
That was beautiful. I don't want to stop you.
Well, it's a Beatles song, isn't it?
What was that? You were on board in '65, weren't you? What was it like, life on board a pirate radio?
It was so exciting. It was so exciting. I mean, looking back and looking at some of the old pirate films you see now, we were definitely risking our lives out there. I mean, apart from Tony Blackburn and I climbing up a mast, some of the storms, you know, I remember one night I was on the midnight surf party and we were in a force 12 gale, and the stylus lifts off the record when you're in, you know, the ship moves over but the stylus stays where it was, so you cut to tape recorded music on the wall. The tape recorder fell over, I'm falling on the floor, the records, I had a rack of records up there and they fell on me. It was just a nightmare sometimes, but what a great time.
Tony, thanks ever so much indeed. You're going to be on air, aren't you, later on, doing this month's broadcast? As I say, it goes on air on Monday for a month. They've got a special licence. There are other commemorations to mark the 50th anniversary in Essex as well. But yeah, very exciting here on board a ship once more. Pirate offshore radio station about to go on air 50 years after the first one did.
Very good, Tim. Nice to hear some of those sort of jingles coming back in. Lots of people getting in touch with fond memories of those days.
Even you remember Tony?
Well, I remember his voice. It really takes me back.
Amazing.